Oye, oye. We're calling this meeting to order at 5:36 of the Ad Hoc Advocacy Committee. My name is Rob Traber. I'm the chair of this committee, and we're going to do a quick swing around the table. Just to be clear, for those of you who are new, the Ad Hoc Advocacy Committee is structured so, as you can see, it's an open committee of anyone that wants to come who's interested in trying to advocate for more resources for the Bridgeport Public Schools. That would be members of the board, members of the Bridgeport Public School staff, members of the Bridgeport Public School families, that would be parents and students, and members of the Bridgeport Public School community. That would be anyone living in the Bridgeport community. So could we go around and just say our name and sort of how we fit in that puzzle? And I'll start with myself. I'm Rob Traber. I am a member of the board. I am a Bridgeport Public School former parent to the person that's about to introduce herself to my left, and a current Bridgeport Public School grandparent of one child and another one that's soon to be in school herself. And I'm a retired Bridgeport Public School teacher who was active in the union.
Hello, I'm Katie Traber. I'm his daughter. Parent of one child at Park City in pre-K 4. Will be going to kindergarten in the fall. So,
hi everybody, my name is Hannah Whitley. I'm the Deputy Grants Director for the district. I should also say I'm the wife of a science teacher in training. Wilson.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Nelson, and I am your new City Council representative here in this district, the 130th.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jameem Davis. I was born and raised in Bridgeport, also attended public schools many, many, many years ago, but I'm currently the co-director of Bridgeport Generation Now, community organization that advocates for more public school funding.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Christine McFarland. I am with Community Services Support Independence. I run the Life Skills Program for pregnant teen moms.
Good evening. My name is Chris Parkin. I have a daughter who's an 11th grader at Fairchild Wheeler, a son who will probably be a 9th grader at Fairchild Wheeler next year. I live in Reading, where I'm also the chair of the Region 9 Board of Education, which covers the towns of Reading and Easton.
I'm Becky Parkin. Also live in Reading, all the same information as him, except the part about Board of Ed. I'm also PTA president of the biotech school at Fairchild Wheeler.
Good evening, I'm Jason Feeney, the assistant principal at Fairchild Wheeler.
Hi, I'm Anjumnara Chaudhry. I'm a student at Fairchild Wheeler. I'm a senior.
I'm Mark Anthony Gallucci, and I'm a parent of Aqua student, a freshman Aqua student, who's also a student at Ludlow, and previously he was a student at Thomas Hooker.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Islandi Floyot. I'm here because I just moved to Bridgeport. I'm here to find out to help my kiddo because I got 4 kids, and the second one is a special. I need to be on top to find more help and to know better for my students.
Good evening. My name is Herminio Planas. I am the Director of Mathematics and Legislative Chair for the BCAS. The BCAS is the Administrators Union, the administrators here in Bridgeport. We have a union, and the Legislative Chair is the person who's in charge of looking at anything that goes on in the legislature and any policies that happen.
Hi, my name is Joe DeGroat. I am the secondary vice president for the Bridgeport Education Association, and I'm also the band director at Central High School.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Kellerman. I'm a 6th grade math teacher at Madison School. I'm also the vice president of the BEA, the Bridgeport Education Association, which is the union that represents the teachers of Bridgeport.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Claudia Emilier. I'm a student at Classical Studies. Son at Classical Studies.
Good evening. My name is Angel Resto. I'm the supervisor for the crossing guards.
Good evening. I'm Jessica Resto. I have 2 kids in Bridgeport Public Schools. They're at Park City Magnet, and I'm also the Park City Magnet PAC president.
Maritza Estramera Jimenez, board secretary, but I'm also a parent to 2 kids in the Bridgeport Public Schools.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Roy Sabry. I'm the interim school superintendent for Bridgeport Public Schools, and glad you guys are here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Albert Benehan Garahale, one of the board members for Bridgeport Public School, almost 20 years in the district. And I'd like to say thank you, all of you, for taking your valuable time to be here. Thank you.
We could just go back. I just.
Anthony Paoletta, work for the city of Bridgeport in the mayor's office.
Whose family I coached many years ago. Yeah. Did everybody get an agenda? We've done items 1 and 2 for the formality. I need to pass the minutes of the previous meeting, and that requires board members. I have a majority on the committee, a quorum on the committee. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
So move, Mr. Benehan.
I'll second that
Joseph
motion.
Calvick, member of the Bridgeport Board of Education online. Thanks, Rob.
Sorry, Joe, sorry.
No worries. I think I'm the only one. I think I just saw Willie walk in. He was online before as well.
Well, you did indeed see Willie walk in. That I happened to notice, Joe. Then go ahead and Joe, introduce yourself, please.
Joseph Calvick, board member, parent of a recent graduate, Bridgeport Public Schools, getting ready to go to college, despite all the odds stacked against us.
And
And I
Mr.
second the
Medina.
motion.
Mr. Medina?
Thank you, Chair. Willie Medina, Bridgeport Public graduate of Central High School, class of 1990. 3 daughters, all went to Central and Fairchild Wheeler, and I'm a proud member and humble member of the Bridgeport Board of Education.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Aye, Mr. Calvick.
Minutes are approved. Item 4 on the agenda is a discussion of April 17th, the Appropriations Committee hearing. And the 2 items questions I put on the table is what we did well and how can we improve? So for anyone that was there, would you care to relate how it went, what we did well, how you think we did? Experience that day?
Good, Chair. I'll start.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent.
I just really wanted to kind of, emphasize when we got together to go to the Appropriation Committee hearing, I wasn't really expecting a whole lot to come from that particular meeting, but I can tell you the students that we brought to Hartford were absolutely amazing. And we have one of them here with us this afternoon. Their speeches were just, it was from the heart. They spoke about the topics that need to be spoken to and advocating for. And I just can't thank them enough because what they did was set the bar for students testifying after them. So it wasn't very many of them afterwards, but we're going to give our students a lot more opportunities over the next couple of weeks to be able to go back up to Hartford to have that conversation with their state delegations, the senators, and hopefully get get the governor in front of them as well. So we did some really amazing things that day. It was a fast and furious day, but it was just one day. Again, we do have a couple of other potential dates coming up for advocacy. I think April 22nd is going to be a Bridgeport Day with the city of Bridgeport. So come April 22nd, I'm thinking, we're going to do some more things there, but there's some other additional things that's going to be happening over the next week or so that we're going to get into and one of the other agenda items, I'm thinking. So anybody else that was there?
We're up there with the students. Push the button.
Yeah, so I was up there with the students, and I just can't say how hard that they worked. I had the privilege of, coordinating the team and getting the team ready with hours notice ahead of time, and the team just came together and worked through their February breaks. I got them to meet online and gather together and research the documents that the district put together. So first and foremost, thank you to the district for putting all that information together. I think that was first and foremost extremely helpful in helping people that want to advocate. And then I think that when we present students with a challenge and a task, they always step up. So when we raise that bar and we have the bar here, they will always rise to that challenge. I don't care what anybody says, they will rise to that challenge. And what they did in Hartford just demonstrated that to me and to everybody there. So congratulations to you and to everybody that went to Hartford. So
Albert?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a little comment there. I just want to say thank you, whoever was the parent, for the students we have in the back. I don't want to be the student we ignored, so I just wanted to, thank you. This is the reason we here. But this is the reason. That's good. That's good. But this is the reason we here. I like to, thank you. Appreciate that.
Anybody else? Marissa?
So I wasn't there physically. I had virtual testimony online, and I have to say I made it my mission to read every single Bridgeport Public School related testimony. And I have to say there was over 60 of them, and I couldn't have been prouder. The majority of, I would say a high percentage of the testimonies were about Bridgeport and how we're trying to get additional resources to our kids. So I just want to say thank you so much for that. It really means a lot that everyone's coming together as a community to help us get more resources.
Mr. Skalovic?
Yeah, thank you. Not much to critique. It was an awesomely put together job by you, Dr. Avery, the communications teams, the staff, the students, everything. It was inspiring to a lot of people. It inspired my son to testify for the first time to his truth on the following hearing after that. Only one improvement I could probably suggest is the one that's the only thing is more. more. Always could use more. Thank you.
Tito?
I just wanted to echo the sentiment of everyone, but also I looked at it from the perspective of what has happened in the last 10 somewhat years. This is the first time that we've seen a movement such as this one in a very, very long time. I graduated from Bridgeport schools also, and I actually have a house in the north end of Bridgeport, though I live in Stratford now. And not because I didn't want to move. I want to move. My son is so big, I needed a big house with tall roofs. But very importantly, it's
Did all the math.
Yeah, it's the people that waited until 11, 12 o'clock to speak. Very thankful to them. And even if they said the same things over and over, it's good that people heard it, because it affected, it had the same effect. And the way they told the information in their own language, in their own words, made a big difference. And you could tell by the comments of the legislators at different parts of the night. So it was great to see that. I was very proud person from Bridgeport, just listening person after person speak.
I would comment that I can think of there are a few. Portia Scott, our director of science, spoke in the wee hours. Jeff Morrissey, the president of the BEA, was probably one of our last representatives to speak. We had joked with him that he might have to wait till sunup the next morning before he spoke because he was up in the 300s. But I believe he got in about 1 a.m. To speak. So.
Through the chair, Anthony.
All right, Willie, I saw.
I think Willie passed it to me. Yeah, I mean, I just want to commend the staff and the students that went up to Hartford. You know, not what you didn't see off camera was the students were able to talk to our Bridgeport legislators. They were also able to meet some other legislators from down county, from like Norwalk and other places. So I think it's just really well done. And kudos to all the students. I mean, they testified better than I did. And just really a great job to the students, and it'll be good to have more of them come up, and great job, Ref, and the superintendent.
Okay.
There's not really much more that I wanted to add. I think, people summed up, the excitement of such a situation where it's fairly dire in terms of the need for funds. But we also did that in a very short period of time. And I think that's something we should be looking at and commending. It also, I think, shows that there's probably a lot more potential too. There are a lot more people who want to be involved and who can be involved. So I also read through the testimony, lots of the testimony as well. It was quite a bit, but it was a good outing, good showing them.
No, I think Mr. Medina was next.
Actually, he just said 99.9% of everything I wanted to say to think, because it was just the same as Joe Zakalev and some of the other people. The more we have over 1,900 kids. We have, over 497 across the whole state. Just more. I wanted to hear more from our teachers, from our delegates that are in the campuses. So I know where we could improve, and I would like to be part of that process to motivate, to walk people hand by hand. And this collaboration has never been seen before. So I applaud everyone. I ran from another meeting to here because I saw all of you guys. And it excited me, and I just took off and came here. So that's why I'm here, because this means so much that I can be shoulder to shoulder with all of you guys. So thank you for coming, all of you, every single one, especially our new mom and our new resident in Bridgeport. I did hear you. So thank you, and God bless. Through the chair.
Let me just offer some final thoughts. I agree with what everybody said. There were a tremendous showing of people from. There was a tremendous showing of people. I was glad Anthony spoke up because I was going to comment. His testimony was very helpful too. There are a lot of people in this room that testified directly and online. And we really did have a much larger turnout. And on top of that, a lot of people that submitted written testimony that didn't testify in person or online. So there's sort of three groups of people that help move everything forward. Getting more is what everybody said is the correct, the more we can do, but we did this on the fly. We had a hearing and we had a 5-day February break. And we had a lot of staff from downtown working the entire break. Giancarlo, Tim, the superintendent's office was helping us put all this together while they were on vacation. So I just want to thank them for all their help, because we did this over the holiday weekend. Tuesday was the hearing. So they couldn't have been more helpful as we worked hard to get all this done. The students were clearly the stars up in Hartford. They clearly were like, everybody was fawning over them. Everybody was adoring them because they spoke brilliantly. They comported themselves with elegance and respect, and everybody wanted to talk to them, and they really just represented our city proudly. The more we do that, the better. Bridgeport has put itself on the map. New Haven had done that last year. Bridgeport did it this year, and I understand we'll get to this more later, some of the other stuff coming up, but it really was a great start for Bridgeport, and very proud moment for our city. I'm ready to move on.
Can I?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I know that day was very important, and it was very important for me and whoever, when, be there, whoever was online and stuff like that. And I know they received the message very clear from everyone in different language. The most important for me is the question is, are they going to help us? Because they can listen to us, different language, different time, different day, but they really know what we want, what we need, and what our students need and our staff. It's not easy, but I know they understand that Bridgeport Beach, the city, the more big one in Connecticut, almost 20,000 students, they know exactly what we want. If they don't do nothing from Bridgeport, it's not Bridgeport's fault. It's not Board of Education's fault. It's not the city's fault. It's them. So it's very clear, the message, and I was very proud, and the funny part is that day, exactly in the minute I get out for my doctor's appointment, I was very lucky. I said, let me see what number they go, and they say my name. I was very lucky for that second. Testify very fast. I was very proud to do that. But like I said, it's them. They know exactly what we want. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Joe, I put on here a quick report on what happened with Friday, and I know then there was some more testifying on Monday. So if you could give us a very quick rundown of what happened there, I would appreciate it. I didn't know, when I made the agenda, there was no knowledge of Monday. So the agenda has Fridays, but you might as well throw in a quick update on Monday.
Yeah, Friday went pretty well. They were mostly talk. I'm trying to make sure I'm getting convoluted in that. Okay, Friday was my poetry reading. Friday there was quite a few people from Bridgeport as well on the call. It went pretty well, but it was kind of heavily weighted toward the charter schools, and it concerned me a bit because they were all out there advocating, saying how wonderful it is and how we need more of them and all that. So we need to be cognizant that we need to have our voices there as well to counter that and to make sure the focus is on our schools and getting the foundation amount raised. But everybody who spoke to it. I think there was like probably 10 or 11 of us from Bridgeport out of 80 something. That was less. And then on Monday, my son went up and testified with me as well, and that was quite enjoyable for me. And there was a couple of people from Bridgeport, New Britain, and everybody, even the charter school people, they were speaking towards raising the foundation because that helps them as well. So the message is getting across, but yeah. So it was pretty good.
Okay.
One thing I'm sorry, and I would like to back up. One thing more I would like to see improved is to see more of our elected officials outside the Board of Education show up and give testimony. We had a few city councilors come testify, and a couple put in writing. I know Mr. Newton, I'm looking at it right now, Miss Nelson,
Miss Nelson, Miss Medina.
Miss Medina. And then just shout out to them for showing up and speaking up, and special shout out to Mr. Newton, who usually testifies when he's asked and when he's aware of it. He'll come out and speak up for Bridgeport. Everybody else needs to get on the ball and help us do the same, because what the state don't give us, we're gonna have to get from the city.
Okay, thank you. So I'm looking, Maritza, do you have the timeline that Kim sent you? Yes. Well, part of that was the timeline too. And Sam, can you give her control over? I'm going to start by speaking a little bit about it. We have basically with both of these timelines, we have until early May, the first week or two in May. The city and the state will be done. So since we're about to enter March, we have basically 2 months left to get the money we need. And what we've done here is try and put this up. Now, Dr. Avery just threw a loop in, which he hadn't mentioned to me before, and that throws a kink in the works. Because we were aiming at an October 25th date for the rally in March. But so we need to sort of work this through. But the idea is, what do we need to do? What can we do to further the agenda? I do know, because Dr. Avery had told me about this one, that the city of New Haven superintendent had contacted him about a student action next Wednesday. And it's not quite clear to me at this point that that is involving multiple cities. And exactly what the cities are, I don't know. We're still trying to figure that out. Dr. Avery, you want to give us an idea what you know so far on that?
Yes, I'm a member of the Connecticut
Urban
school,
superintendent.
urban school superintendent, the large school superintendent in the state of Connecticut, the urban school superintendent. So it's myself, New Haven, Hartford, Danbury. I mean, there's quite a few of us actually. Some of them are not large urban centers, but they're pretty close to it. Really trying to rally, what we feel we need as urban school superintendents in urban districts. We serve probably some of the largest groups of students across Connecticut in all of the schools. And so we're trying to kind of advocate for the things that we felt we need for our schools. And so Wednesday is March the 4th we're going to do a press conference at the Capitol with students and the superintendents of probably 6 different school districts around Connecticut, urban school districts. And we're working with the municipal league, I think is, and they're the ones who are actually going to take care of transportation and food for the kids. Well, I think we have about 15 kids, Giancarlo, that's going with me on 15 to 20 kids will go up with me. And like we did last year, each of these kids will have an opportunity to speak to a body of legislators, in addition to doing a press conference with the superintendents to talk a little bit about the funding issues and the things that we feel is important. So that's coming on Wednesday. And that was just one of those quick, little, let's get something together. Kind of thing. We met again this morning to find out, to fine tune the details of that, and so she should be sending that out to Giancarlo, and then once we get it, we'll give you guys a little bit more information on. I think this press conference is going to be at 9:00 on Wednesday, and then the education committee meets on Wednesday, I think at 10 or 11 o'clock, I think. So we're trying to do this press conference before the education committee. That's kind of how we decided to do this thing. Yeah, so, and work from there, whatever. So that's kind of my update for that.
Okay, so what Dr. Avery's got laid out there is that next Wednesday, there is, you want to introduce yourself, young lady?
Oh, hi, I'm Kim McLaughlin. I'm just sneaking in here late, sorry.
You all snuck in too? Oh, Becky, you're supposed to sit at the table. Even younger woman. Kim McLaughlin is my wife.
I'm a little deaf, so I just couldn't hear from back there.
Even see you in the room. So I'm glad you got up to the table. Becca tried to sneak in. Yes, anytime you want. Please raise your hand. Yes.
Turn on the mic. Sorry, please.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just put it in front of you on the table.
Okay. Because he reported that he's requested from
superintendent to give specific information and numbers of any federal funding cuts that have been transpired so he can try to find reimbursements. And we said, don't really think that was the issue and that the superintendent necessarily needs to provide that for you. And then he pivoted talking about the governor proposing a fund of $500 million from capital gains that he wants to use as rebates, and that he wants to try to make a case to not give out as many rebates. And I'm just wondering, are we trying to really keep their feet to the fire on this ECS? We kept trying and we couldn't really.
The answer to your question is that Steve Staffstrom needs to feel a lot of pressure. He has a huge number of educators living in his district, and he will try and deflect as much as he can. That's the short term, and we need to have a lot of educators trying to hold him to the ECS. And that answer sounds like a deflection to me, to try and keep it off of the ECS. And that's going to happen over the next 2 months. And I guess let me go back and sort of look at the timeline. We're at the beginning of March. By the end of March, the beginning of April, both the Appropriations Committee and the Finance Committee, you'll see up there April 1st and April 2nd are starred. Both committees issue their final reports. That's the report on revenue, finance, and the report on spending, appropriations. And then what happens between the beginning of April and the end of April is, well, in the beginning of May, when the session ends, is a fight over what exactly the state's going to be spending money on the next year and what the bills are going to look like. So what happens for those 4 weeks? And that's really when the sausage is made. Now, this isn't supposed to be a spending session. He's correct about that. This is a short session where they are tweaking last year's budget. But they tweaked in the fall 500 million because of federal action, but they only, and the 500 million wasn't spent. They only spent 200 million.
Yeah, there's about 330.
And I think that's what he might be referring to, but I don't know for certain based on what you said. So I think there's a lot of latitude and a lot of pressure on ECS, and we should not take our foot off the gas at this point in the session. We are a little less than a third of the way through the session. We're at a key point, and the worst thing we could do is to let off the pressure at this point. We need to keep up the pressure, and he's a really adept politician. And he has a lot of educators living in his district, and a lot of educators that need to be talking to him about how that's not good enough, because the ECS needs to be spent, needs to be increased. It hasn't been increased for 13 years, and that's not going to do it. And so it's going to be a fight about, this is not time to do it. They didn't do it last year. They wouldn't even talk about ECS last year when they were coming up with the 2-year budget. Well, they can. What they've shown over the last year is that the guardrails, the holy guardrails, which is being heard Friday, among the bills Friday, which we'll spend some time talking about tonight, is finance is having a big hearing on Friday. I sent out as much as I could, and we will send it out more, a link to the Connecticut for All testimony guide, thank you, for the Finance Committee meeting on Friday, and you have until 3 o'clock tomorrow to submit that you want to testify or to submit testimony. One of the bills is to take down the guardrails. And those guardrails have been used to do 2 things: prevent anybody from spending the surplus, which is between $4 and $5 billion, and 2, to prevent anybody from taxing the wealthy in our state who have made money hand over fist. So those 2 issues have prevented us from having the extra resources needed to deal with problems like education, educational equity, housing, healthcare, other issues that are afflicting the poorer communities in our state. So that is the way. To me, the surplus is the short-term source of revenue. The wealth taxes are the long-term revenue. But the guardrails are what have been used to prevent us from doing either. Yet last year, they bent the guardrails for the special ed money. They bent the guardrails for, I'm forgetting, the $500 million fund in the fall. And there was one other issue that Speaker Ritter bent the guardrails for. So they bent them for a couple different things when they were issues they supported. So it's a question of political will, not impossibility to bend the guardrails, even without this legislation that says take down the guardrails. So that's really what it's all about. And he's comfortable living within the guardrails and letting Speaker Ritter and the governor dictate when they should be bent. And we want him to be uncomfortable with that on behalf of his constituents. Yes.
A question regarding the ECS. I remember last session, I had a conversation with Antonio Felipe, and he had said that there was an opportunity coming up to change the ECS formula. Does anyone know if there's a window of time in which the ECS can be changed? Like, because I was under the impression that it had to be done this session, like, so there's no, are there any restrictions?
No.
So it can be changed anytime.
Well, let me, if you're talking about changing the formula,
Or updating it.
okay, because, the governor's blue ribbon panel is going to spend a few years exploring how it might be done differently. If you're talking about simply raising the base rate, which is what we're fighting for, and perhaps adjusting, because last year they adjusted the special ed part, but they didn't adjust the poverty factor or the MLL or ELL factor for teaching English language learners, right?
Right.
Those were the two things they didn't deal with.
So we can put maximum pressure on them to update the ECS. Like that was the, okay.
Well, and next year we can go back and visit the poverty factor and the MLL factor. Right now, we're simply trying to raise the base rate, which hasn't been raised in 13 years. We're trying to keep it simple and plain.
Yeah, yeah. The other question I had is, so if this critical time where these decisions are made, like April 1st and April 2nd, are we planning a massive action or something to put?
Yes, that'll be the
pressure?
next item on the agenda.
Perfect. Thank you.
But yes. Short answer to your question. Who said?
I just have two comments. So I think there's like kind of two issues. One, there's the structural issue with the ECS formula hasn't been updated since 2013. Obviously, it's the short session this year because all the reps are up for election. And then there's the Bridgeport issue, that we have our own issue because of the underfunding that we need some help. So I think both issues concurrently, I think everyone's been doing a great job talking about both issues because it's the same issue, but we have our own problems in Bridgeport. And from what we've seen, other districts are having the same problem this year, not as bad as Bridgeport. So I think both issues are going hand in hand. So I would say to continue to advocate for both issues because I think it's working. I was in a room full of all different mayors from throughout the state with the Speaker of the House, and he specifically called out Bridgeport and acknowledged that there are issues outside of ECS and that Bridgeport needs help. So I think everyone's doing a great job working together, advocating together, and I think we should just keep that up on both issues to kind of answer Jameem's point and the lady that left. But I think we're doing a great job kind of talking about both at the same time because they are both kind of the same issue, but we do need a little extra help outside of every other district.
Yes. But I think it's important we not get divided early. The mayors were phenomenal last year I was not a big fan of the Dalio plan, but the mayors chose to align themselves, and I understand Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, CC, they backed that plan. And so they were looking for a $500 billion, $500 million on that plan, 550 million, I believe. And that would have meant a lot of money for a lot of our poor districts. And so go for it. So that was useful to me. But they got shunned. They got completely shunned. And CCM let it go. I don't know who the decision makers were that let it go, but it got let go. And I don't want to let this go. We are associated with Connecticut for All in the unions. And on the union side, we don't want to let it go. So I want to just, Joe?
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Yeah, I just want to raise the point to Ms. Davis's point. Yeah, we could actually advocate at any time to change it. They could put any bill in they want in either session. It's just easier in a longer session. But now is the time that we must do it before we have to make $40-something million in additional cuts in Bridgeport, millions of additional cuts in Waterbury, millions of additional in New Haven, millions of additional in Hartford. This is an issue that's resonating throughout all the districts. Even some of the more affluent districts are going to feel cuts because of the lack of ECS updates. Nearly every district is struggling in the state because of this lack of the raising of the foundation and the frozenness of it. Let's get the foundation up this on. If anybody wants to throw a bill up to raise any of the weights, awesome. But right now the foundation needs to raise up to at least match inflation and to give us enough money so we don't have to cut any more things from our children in any of the cities, in any of the towns, in any of the districts in the state of Connecticut. Thank you, Rob.
Certainly. Yes, sir. You were magnificent the other day too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think it's important not to lose sight of the critical need in Bridgeport by focusing on the ECS formula, because I think Steve Staffstrom is probably right. There's not political will to change it in the short session. I think you need Matt Ritter running a bill. I don't think that's going to happen. And so I think you've got to be focused on, yes, the ECS formula has to change. That's a persistent message. It's going to take several years to get there. I think you also have to have talking points on the acute issue, which is I need $40 million. And if I don't get $40 million, here's what's going to happen. And so, yes, they're both important, but I don't think we can put all of our eggs in an ECS basket and wait until April 1st to say, here is the dire consequence. We've got to have talking points on both.
Thank you for that. I think that's very important. We've talked a little bit about that, but we hadn't had a public, conversation outward yet. So I think we'll kind of circle back with my team on specifically how we're going to do that. And so I think that's a great point. And I can tell you, Steve Stanstrom, I did have a conversation with him about this funding piece. They have money set aside for, any federal cuts of school districts in Connecticut. So he wanted me to do an exercise with, he thought we were like missing like $5 to $10 million of federal funds, but technically when I analyze that, it's probably right at $1 million is all we're losing from federal funding. So we got our federal funding has kept up with what was anticipated to us, other than about that $1 million mark. So it's not a whole lot of money to be able to fight for him to get back to the district. So again, when I looked at that number, like, well, I can still do some other things, and that's why we did not pursue just that particular ask of me.
And from a pure messaging perspective, my perspective living outside of the city is that a shortfall in Bridgeport is a chronic issue. And it's sort of, people have turned it off outside of the city in the sense that like, well, it just happens. And that's just what happens in Bridgeport. And I think from a political perspective, the work I've been doing to socialize locally is around the concept of Bridgeport matters to all of its peer towns and not just Bridgeport. It's not a Bridgeport problem, it's a Connecticut problem. And as suburban districts, we're senders to Bridgeport every single day, and it benefits all of our families to have those options. And so we should care just the same as Bridgeport should care. So the more the messaging can reach those legislators, the better.
I was actually just talking to Clea about this. That $500 million fund is not actually, education is not a factor that should be, that initially when it was passed could be used for. So just keep in mind, the other thing too is that the legislature on the opening day gave away their power to move that money. It is solely in the governor's hands now. They have the power to veto, but he has all the power to move it to whatever he wants to move it to. It's healthcare WIC, low-income healthcare program, housing, food, I think school food programs, and there's two more I'm blanking on, but education was not part of it. He may have some wiggle room. I don't want to he may have some wiggle room because he's been up at the legislature for a while, but also I think there's some misunderstanding around that fund.
And I spoke with him on opening day when we spoke, so it may have not had clarity at the moment when he was conversating with me.
That I think they did it the day after. Now that I'm thinking about it, it wasn't opening day per se because they don't do anything on opening day because it's such a long day. But I think it was the day after they went into session.
Kim?
Yeah, for those of you that know me, I've been an organizer for about 45 years. And the only way you win on issues for I'm just going to say it, for poor people, and that's what Bridgeport is. The only way you win is political pressure. It's numbers, numbers, numbers. That's the only way you win. And they will throw up a lot of arguments that sound like they make sense. Oh, right. Oh, well, we need to change the ECS formula first. We've screwed you out of 13 years, 41% increase according to inflation for the past 13 years. But oh, we need to change it first and we need to study it. The governor says we got to study. Well, let's laugh about it. That's ridiculous, right? Right? I wouldn't accept that if someone said that to me about something else. And now they're saying it about our children's education. That's an excuse. Can we just call it an excuse? Is anybody arguing with me that that's not an excuse? No. So let's just call it an excuse. Then there was another excuse that the woman down here, Steve Stastrom doesn't have many public education children in his district. Let's face it. I even read in the paper, I think yesterday, Sunday, where there was an issue in Black Rock and they called it Black Rock something, but not in Bridgeport. So it's a section of our city that is very, very well to do. The homes now that many people there who were not rich people bought 10, 20 years ago for maybe 125 or 150,000 are now worth 500,000 or $750,000. That's a very wealthy section of our city. And Steve Stastrom represents those folks. And those folks generally don't go to the schools in that neighborhood, or they go to Black Rock School, which is a very interesting little experiment that the families there put together about 10 or 15 years ago, and they get very special treatment. All right. So that's a very different school. So he is not going to rise to be a leader on this issue unless he gets a lot of political pressure. So when I heard her, I just walked in, forgive me, he was talking. I thought March 3rd, March 3rd, March 3rd, there's an election in that district, and that's next week. So there will be a lot of people going in and out of the polling. There's only 2 polling places in that district. And it's for a Democratic town committee election. I'm not suggesting we get involved in the election.
No, we're not going to get involved.
But I'm suggesting that it's a place where we could talk to people in Steve Sastrom's district to say, there's this really important issue. We could have a very small little, I'll go out. You want me out there? I'll go out. I'll talk to folks.
We're not going to get involved in that election.
But I'm just saying, the only way that we're going to win this issue is if we are talking about this issue in the district and we're calling as many people as we can call about it. And we all have to do that or we're not going to win. That's just the way it is.
So notwithstanding the election in that district, the bottom line is we have a lot of educators and concerned people living in that district. The parents from Clader School, the parents from Black Rock School, the parents from that district, who can speak to that state rep. And that's what we need to do, is mobilize parents to speak to that state rep, as we do in other districts where we also want to move the state reps. So that's what we want to be able to do over the next month, is that's one of the issues. Jimmy.
Yeah, so speaking of pressure and people, like,
Your
do
point.
we have targets?
I think that we want to start identifying where people stand on these issues as the bills emerge. And as a, for instance, there are some bills emerging over the next week. And I'll come back to that thought. Let me hold that thought 1 second, because I want to go to your other thought as I do what I call my smooth segues to the next item on the agenda. Do it raised. We have basically Dr. Avery's student meeting next Wednesday. Dr. Avery just mentioned that there's an education meeting that day. The education committee hasn't released what they're having a hearing about. I do know that the unions are meeting with leadership tomorrow over the fact that they're not being informed of why things are coming up. So we hope to have a better idea of what that meeting's about next Wednesday. We have heard that that meeting may involve some relevant proposed legislation that we want to know more about. So we should know in the next day or two what education committee is hearing next Wednesday. And it's good because there will be a huge number of superintendents with students up there that morning. And we should know by then whether or not there is going to be a public hearing at the same time that they may be needed to testify at or participate in. And if they do, then we may also need to have some other people go up there, people who are available, certainly myself and people like Joe and Willie and people who have been up there a lot. So we'll see. That's Wednesday. Dr. Avery mentioned a different date than I had in mind on March 25th, which is up on the calendar, or was up on the, we have the dates now. March 25th, the Connecticut for All movement was proposing to have a big lobby day up in Hartford. We had been talking at our first meeting about a Bridgeport Day, but at the time, somebody had proposed a Bridgeport Day at the end of April. And a Bridgeport Day at the end of April is a waste of time, because by the end of April, pretty much all the business has been conducted. And so we were talking about changing that to an earlier date. And so we were looking at sometime earlier. Then I found out Connecticut for All is scheduling a big event on March 25th. And so to me, what I had been thinking of was an ECS day in Hartford with all our allies from across the state to have an ECS day. There's no reason we can't have an ECS day on the same day that Connecticut for All is having other groups come in on the other issues like affordable housing and other issues that are being raised throughout the state on those issues. Now, I don't know where Dr. Avery came up with the date he came up with for Bridgeport Day, because we didn't discuss it before this meeting. So,
Bridgeport, where you get that date?
So we did, city did reach out to the General Assembly. We did try again an earlier date. That's the date that our legislators were given for Bridgeport Day. We asked to go earlier, but that was the date they got from the General Assembly.
well, answer me a question. Do we do Bridgeport Days in the short session? Or is that normally long session only? Every session? Well, I like the idea of doing an ECS day with all the cities and towns that are going after it. That's the problem, is instead of a Bridgeport Day, doing an ECS day, because that allows us to coalesce with Hartford, New Haven, Waterbury, New London.
Can I suggest that for ECS Day, whoever shows up be wearing a blue ribbon?
I'm
Do something like that.
Well, because the governor wants a blue ribbon commission to study ECS instead of doing it.
What does that mean?
So if you make yourselves the blue ribbon commission, you'll deliver a report though.
I like that.
I like it on two levels. I tend to be a sarcastic person anyways. Yes.
Can I just make the suggestion of letting parents, principals, teachers, letting them know a week more than a week advance? Because that's honest, that's the hardest thing I think for even like tonight, this meeting's at 5:30. That's a hard time for most parents.
Well, I'm gonna ask you to hold that thought, but go on with the rest.
So that's what, so
I'm
I'm
with
just saying, like,
you on the much.
I know for a fact, like, my husband has 3 jobs. So he wouldn't be able to come to this. Most parents probably also have second or night jobs where this isn't a great time, but also even my PAC meetings, people will say, you know, I can't come because it's at this time, or we need a more advanced notice. So I know for a fact that the last testimony, I got notified maybe like a week before that it was supposed to happen. So personally, if we could just be even our principals pumping it out, old flyers to the kids in schools, because Parent Square, it gets drowned out. Text messages would be great. Emails are great. But I think that if you could just get the principals also involved, maybe a little bit more.
I'm
That would be a really-
I'm gonna stop you right there. No, because I want to talk about everything you just said on the next meeting question. On the advance notice of the whatever day, Bridgeport Day or ECS Day, absolutely. And that's what we're doing tonight, is looking at the schedule ahead of time so that we know sort of what's coming up. And on when we get to the next meeting, Maritza and I have already had this discussion. Absolutely. So, yes.
Obviously, we're on the right track, right? We have more people getting involved, more people interested, we're coordinating more, we're submitting more testimony, we got the students involved. We're on the right track, which is great, right? So that's good. We have to do more community grassroots organizing so that we get those numbers and we get more people involved. There's no question about that. But I think, you know, it's not just working parents. I think our society changed quite a bit. And people will devote their time to things that they value and also activities they think won't be the waste of their time, where they actually feel like they can accomplish something. That's why a lot of people today, if you ask them to do a very specific little thing, well-defined within a certain period of time, they step up and do it. You ask them, okay, come to the advocacy meeting once a month or twice a month for the next several months. No, they're not going to give that kind of commitment. Very few people do that, right? But I think your point is well taken, and I think it was mentioned by the lady who left, the parent who left. We need to be very clear when we do reach out to people. What are we asking them to do? Okay, like, we know this was a short session and not going to change the formula. So the question was, what are we asking them to do then? Okay, it's great to talk about it, prepare them for next year. But what do we want to ask for right now? What are we asking people to do? And I think we need to define that message and get it to people. And then more people will say, hey, I think I can contribute to that. I can do that.
My reaction is I agree with you completely. We have a panoply of things we're beginning to develop, whether it's writing a letter to your state rep or state senator, which the communications department has been working on at the moment that it makes sense, to coming to a meeting or coming to Hartford or submitting testimony. We're working on all those things to try and ask people to do one of those things. And the more of that we do, the better, whether as a Bridgeport or with Bridgeport, or where we have teachers who don't live in Bridgeport, they're writing to their state reps or state senators where they live. It's just got to be that full range. And we have to be able to offer that up as part of an overall program. Let me just point out, I'm going to do a quick introduction. The lady in pink sitting next to the gentleman with the tie on over there is Councilwoman Kayla Medina from my district, the 138th. I'll just quickly introduce her as we keep discussing. Any other thoughts on what we need to do? What we want to do? Because this gentleman is correct. We do want to offer activities so they can plug into what they're comfortable doing.
I think the work the communications team has done to clip the testimony from students and push it to social media has been excellent. Whoever is responsible for that.
That would be Giancarlo. Raise your hand, please, Giancarlo. Raise your hand, Giancarlo.
Really good job.
Good job.
We live in a short form video world, and that's how you get people's attention. You're not going to get people's attention with 500-word letters or letters to the editor or anything like that. Put that in front of eyeballs with a link that says, click here to send form letter to whomever. That's how you're going to generate information. Get it onto Instagram, get it wherever the people who are either information is.
It's good.
You mean?
Oh, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, there could be a strategy around getting that stuff out to other community organizations that would be willing to share it to their groups to generate some momentum.
So, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you that.
She's willing to help with that.
I got it. Realized I had to ask you to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel. I have kids in High Horizons.
Great.
Nice.
Welcome.
Yes, through the chair.
Go ahead.
Okay, through the chair. On Jimmy's, on one of your questions that you had about, conversation about, is there a timeline when the formula can or be adjusted and stuff like that? And I want to make sure everybody understands that we're looking to get the foundational amount to be changed. There has been tweaks on other, what you call it, weights here, weights there, those things have been done. So there is no specific date that it needs to be done or not. So there's not a timeline, there's not a deadline. The only thing that we do have, because of the formula, once it changes, that number gets, put into place by October. So any changes that's going to be done to the foundation amount needs to be done before October, because that's when we, as a district, get that amount. So that's what I've been told by some of the leaders up in Hartford. Another specific comment that we need to, thank you. Another thing that we need to speak about and put into our conversation when we talk about the formula, one thing that hurts in the governor's ears and let's say in our governor's pocket, the way he's acting, that is his money but not our money, is that we need to make sure that we mention that we need to hold those other districts not harmless, because right now we're holding them harmless. So we want to make sure those other districts like Greenwich, the governor's thing, that they're not going to get less than last year, but they're not just because we changed the formula, the foundation, that they're not automatically going to get more.
Your mic's off.
Sorry?
Turn your mic off.
Oh, it's on.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's green, but they're not automatically going to get more. And when the governor looks at all these numbers, he's going to be looking at that. So we need to try to add in our advocacy and our voices is that we are not going to hold those other towns, harmless, because they're still going to get it. And we don't want them to get it because they really don't need it. We need to put it to the districts that need it the most and make sure that we don't hold them harmless. That way the governor is a little bit more ease on doing what we're asking him to do. Is that foundation is the foundation, guys. We can put a beautiful school, put everything inside the school, but if that foundation, we built that in the sand at Seaside Park, guess what? The waves are going to come, they're going to hit it, they're going to knock it down. That foundation is important, okay? Those other schools, and I'm not going to mention their name, they're going after public education, and we need to defend public education before they try to take it over. And this formula, by getting fixed, it will give us the funds so we can do the work that we need to do. We need coaches, we need instructors. Other towns have those in the schools, so their kids are achieving more. The only way we're going to do it is by having everything in place inside every school. Certified teachers in every classroom, parents in every classroom, coaches, librarians, nurses, all those positions, they're not absent in the other districts. They're absent in our districts, where we're dealing with 30 to 40% ELL, handicap, special ed, and our transportation cost is off. So again, that foundation needs to be more money into it, and not hold the other towns harmless any longer.
Ma'am.
Hi,
I
so,
understand she had her hand up.
yeah, so Dr. Christine McFarland. So I am the founder of the Reset Program with teen parents, and I'm gonna apologize in advance. I am trying to learn the legislative stuff or all of the politics. I'm not very political, but I do represent a population, maybe 33% of your students are getting pregnant and teen parents. And, you know, there's so many barriers to that population that, you know, a lot of the stuff that I came to hear tonight is mostly like, you know, my hands are tied on a lot of the issues. I have to say Bridgeport Board of Ed has been really supportive around that program because it is a hidden population. But it is a population that we need to take a look at because these girls and young guys are getting pregnant and they have no other way to do anything but to get educated, have a program like ours, life skill program, a small community that we try to work with. I'm saying that to say transportation, obviously, I'm thinking is a part of this whole ESE. I promise I'm gonna do some, whatever it is that's happening here. There's a lot going on here, but that stuff I'll look into. But the population is struggling because of some barriers that did come into place so far this year. Last year I ran the program, wasn't as many barriers. And I do have some parents and the teen parents that could do whatever it takes to also be a part of the movement that you guys are working on. I just need to know what we need to do and who we need to speak to and what we have to get that population to represent, because they are worried that every single September they may not have the program anymore and that they may not have the support that they get from my program. And I constantly reassure them that I'm not sure. But, you know, if we, whatever we can do as a program, teen moms, teen parents, and parents of the teen parents and grandparents of the teen parents, please let me know and we'll do.
The education cost sharing.
You just have.
No, alternative programs, please. I heard you name a whole lot of different programs that you guys are looking to save, but alternative program is, for Bridgeport is definitely necessary.
The education cost sharing formula. Giancarlo, you have your pamphlet on the website, right?
Before you leave.
Correct. So if you go to the Bridgeport Public School website, you'll find there's an information packet about the finances and and it includes a couple of pages on education cost sharing.
Okay.
It's essentially how the state passes money to the poorer districts.
Okay.
That's all. It's a way of redistributing money in the state from the wealthier to, you know, the state redistributes to the poorer districts,
Okay.
of which Bridgeport is one. And that's what it is. It's a way of saying, okay, the state takes in money and then it gives money to the poorer districts.
Okay.
It's been in existence for decades. They froze it 13 years ago. And that's sort of hurt.
Okay.
It's worth, if they had kept up with the cost of living, Bridgeport would be getting $95 million more. Since we need 44 million just to balance our budget, obviously that's significant to us. That's what you need to know. With that 95 million, we could be doing programs that you're talking about and other things, whether buses. So that's the short answer. But you can go read up a little more on it and some of the impacts on the website that Giancarlo and his
Sit
team
down for a cup of coffee.
done. That would be great. Yes, ma'am.
And I'm new to the district, and I come in here as a parent to show my voice because, like he say, I see the education in Bridgeport. He need more stand up, like the public, especially when your kids go to the public school, they look at them different. As in the kids go into the magnet school, the kids go into the charter school. We can do it as in parent, as in teacher, as in staff member. We can make more support for those kids. I'm new here. I just come in here 2 years ago. Like I'm moving. I pay my tax here. And I know they can support my kids more as in public school. The other state do it. The other city do it. Here, I see education different. That's why I come in here to, somebody can hear me. I can speak, especially the kids have a special need. They don't support us to pick up our kiddo. They don't support us, put the special need, the special teacher for those kids. That's why I'm here. I need, if I'm living here, I'm not living just, I rent the house, I bought my house. My kids' education is supposed to be here. Thank you.
Jen?
Just a suggestion to piggyback off of some of the comments that some of the parents and people have been making about the information and learning more about the ECS and everything that's going on. I don't know if it would be possible. We might have to get in line with other things that maybe are more important, but if there's a way that maybe for a certain period of time, especially since our timeline is so short with what we need to do. I know you said that there's information on the website. The website, the newer website, a lot of us are still trying to learn how to navigate and use. It's not the most easy website to find information. I'm not tech savvy. Maybe people are better than me. But if there's maybe a period of time where when you type in bridgeportedu.net and you get that pop-up, which right now is your budget presentation, maybe for a week or a couple of days, we can change that to this information so that when people are going on the website, whether it's because they're just looking to see the school calendar or any kind of information, that it just pops up in their faces and and it's just that push, what do they call them, push notifications, and that it's there and maybe people will click on it and take a look at it. Just a suggestion.
Good point. We can do it he'll do it on the fly, so he's good. Great point.
I too am not the most tech savvy and discuss with them access and finding things. But this particular document is what appears when you open up the Bridgeport Public School website. It is what appears first. So that is there for you to leaf through. It's there. So I've complained because what I want to see appear is notices of meetings, and this appears first. So
Learning curve, and
I have my criticisms of it too, is my point.
but again, it's a good change. We're all getting used to it. I know what I have to click to find what I need, but sometimes finding things that if we've been around for a long time, that we're in one sort of place that's not there now. And so if that's something that would just
I want to
pop
make
right up.
another comment, but Joe, if you don't mind. I wrote an letter to the editor in the Bridgeport Post. If you're old enough to have lived in Bridgeport that long, it was the Bridgeport Post 32 years ago, that every child in Bridgeport deserves a magnet school education. So I completely agree with what you just said, man. Joe, and then Joe.
Yeah, just starting my 34th year in Bridgeport here. We've always been playing defense. Sorry for those of you who are not sports fanatics. We've always been playing defense. We need to start playing offense. The testimonies on the website, that's a good start, but we need to expand it. As I am for my teaching goal this year, expanding it out to my alumni so that they can tell me how important band was and how we need a schedule in the high school that supports band. We need that community reaction that we get when we go out to parades instead of having to turn them down because there's not enough students to even put a band together. I can do the best that I can do with whatever you give me, but I really think that we need to start playing offense. We need to really start getting out there, putting things in our in their face. We have the poetry slam. I've seen some very moving spoken words that need to be on the website, that need to be in the legislators' ears, that need to be in the governor's ears. And we need to not only use our students, not our teachers and our administrators, but our alumni who are doing very well for themselves. Very well for themselves. I can say I've had so many that are doing great things. And everybody needs to know about that. The governor needs to know about that. And we've got the next doctors, the next cancer people who are going to cure cancer. We've got them right here, but we're not doing them any service by this ECS formula, by the Common Council not giving it's due to the Bridgeport Public Schools. So I've seen it for 34 years, and I came from Waterbury. I was born and raised in Waterbury, and I got out of there as soon as I could. And Bridgeport, with open arms, in 1992, said, come teach here. And I've been here ever since, even though I've been offered some really great positions in Trumbull, in Brookfield, in Norwalk. Here is where we have the most potential. And one is sitting right next to me. He was in that band room that I'm sitting in.
Cool. Was.
And I didn't see him in the band room. I saw you and your family. But we need to start putting this out front. We need to stop holding back. We need to put it out front because of the fact that it's our students. It's our students that are going to fall short. And I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, piggyback on that. I was very disappointed to see some of the framing about Bridgeport's needs being, if you don't give us money now, you're going to have to pay to incarcerate our children later, which came from not anyone within the school system, but somebody else who, I mean, that was the statement that was made by the mayor in one of his pieces. And that really upsets me. Like, as Joe was saying, the children of Bridgeport are beautiful, wonderful, intelligent, courageous, creative children. And to frame it that the only reason the rest of the state should care is because these kids are going to be a drain later is horrible. And it's a horrible message for our children to hear. And so anything we can do that creates it as a celebration of our children and their resilience and their courage and their intelligence is the way to go at this point, because I also want the kids to learn from this that all the adults around them care about them.
Joe?
Yeah,
Took
my
it
hand was
down.
up before. I really didn't have anything to say, but I would like to actually piggyback off something you said. The magnet schools, you are correct. All our schools should be magnet schools, and a well-funded school district that's properly funded would have no need for magnet schools to draw people, because every school would be top-notch and well-funded. Students would get an all-around well-funded education.
Along with Becca's message, could I just leave for high road messages? And no low road memes, etc. I don't think it helps us at all. So, gotta be high road.
Well, anybody else? Okay, so we have next Wednesday. We have to narrow down the date on the 20, that last week. Well, I need to sit down. Marissa? Oh, I thought you were going to raise your hand. So I was, can you go back to the calendar for a second there? I just ask. It doesn't matter to me whether it's Sam or Marissa, Willie. It's Marissa that controls it. I was speaking to the air. Whoever it is over there that's controlling it, it doesn't matter to me. I'm completely ignorant of who has control. Then we got a whole different situation at home. Whoever made that snide remark. Was that you, Tito? No. Oh, Joe. Well, I know your wife, so watch out what you say to me. I worked with her, remember? What's the 23rd, Bridgeport? That's your date? Okay. What was the day you mentioned for Bridgeport Day?
April 22nd. April.
Oh, April still?
23rd is the city council meeting with.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Kim.
It said BPT under it. I mean,
I just didn't know what the BPT was staying for. You're talking April 22nd still? Yeah, that's still way too late. See, because here's the problem. You see, April 1st and 2nd, that's when the committees come out with really what gets fought over for a month. And I'm sorry Katie had to go because she had to go get the kids. But that month of April is when all the backroom fighting goes on over the budget. So that earlier, so what Connecticut for All was talking about was, you see the March 25th, doing it on March 25th, which is the week before those two committees issue their reports.
I don't know if that
Of what
has any,
month? Of what month?
April, so I don't know if that has any bearing on what you were saying, but
April 22nd was what the city was talking about for Bridgeport Day.
that's parent
So
teacher conferences that day.
those are half days then for the teachers.
But not necessarily if you have evening conferences or afternoon conferences, yeah.
Still messes up everybody's
Yeah,
schedule.
oh, yeah, yeah.
So different schools have different type of half days. So that becomes days you're saying, and everybody's schedule is fakakta. So it's,
Rob, in the previous, in the previous, schedule that was shown, March 25th says there was something about the ECS. Yeah, that one. There was something about the ECS there, so.
Connecticut for All. This is Connecticut for All's schedule of bringing all the groups over all the issues that Connecticut for All is fighting for, which includes ECS. And so that's doing one big lobby day over all the issues having to do with taking down the guardrails and spending the money on affordable housing, educational funding, healthcare, immigration rights, just all kinds of things. And so that would be us piggybacking with them to have a huge turnout at there. It wouldn't be Bridgeport Day, it would be, on the money for all these program days. And so we would be piggybacking with them on that. But that's what, so go back to the calendar, Maritza. That's what that would be.
Yeah.
And that would be picking that the week before these two committees report, finance and, I'm trying to stay so you can see. That was April 1st is, believe it or not, April Fool's, is when the finance committee issues their revenue bill. All the recommendations they're making for new revenue laws. That hearing Friday is the beginning of that, is their public hearing on revenue laws. And then April 2nd is when appropriations will issue their proposals for spending. And then there'll be the fight for 4 weeks between what the governor wants and what the legislature wants. Right? Yes. But I think so too. I agree with you. Kim?
in general, just in my experience, generally what happens in April is when that appropriation budget comes out, there are key people, especially Kathy Austin, who's one of the co-chairs, and is really in. I think she's on our side. Like everybody thinks she's on our side. Her district needs money too, so she's like the team captain. She's going to be saying, "Hey guys, we need Steve Stasher. I need his vote because he can bring 4 other votes, or I need, so and so." She's going to point out who are the key people she needs votes from that she doesn't have. So she's gonna ask us to do things where she'll ask us, do you have any teachers who are supportive who live in Brookfield, right? So that's what's going to be happening, and she's going to ask us to get to them. And if we have a handful of them, let's have a meeting, surround them and talk to them. Or if we have 10 and we can get calls in Trumbull, right? So that's a lot of what happens in April. And that's how you get that, you get her and that, and you get bills passed. And it goes down to the wire. In March, we ought to be having individual meetings with our state senators. And I bet that, especially, you know, listen, you get 5 to 10 people in a district, Antonio or with Chris or with the rest of them, you could scare the pants off of them a little bit to get a little bit more active than they are. And it is certainly worth it. Because they know, if they know people in their district in an election year, watching them, how they're going to vote, and it's really not very hard to get 5 to 10 people, right? So I'd suggest we put that on the calendar for March. And I'll help coordinate it.
Couple of thoughts in that area. We've also talked about doing 2 meetings in the half city, one in the Senate district on the west side of town, one in the Senate district on the east side of town, with the state reps from those two sides of town. So we have to decide how we want to do that. It is an election year, so we can get them out. The other is, there's one of the stars of the student performance too. Come on up here. There's another one of the students came up to Hartford with us. There's plenty of seats up here for you. My buddy, he sat with me. You want to introduce yourself? Yep, one of our student stars. So we need to decide how we want to do that, individual districts or regions of the city, areas of the city. Any opinions on that? Okay, we'll decide. And we'll let you know with lots of time, Jess. I just asked.
It's a practical question. How in doubt is the Bridgeport delegation to being on our side on this?
There's not a lot of doubt to them being on our side. There's doubt as to their commitment to staying the course. That's really the question in Bridgeport. Would that be a fair way of putting it, Jameen? Thank you.
I'm just wondering about sort of daisy chaining out into people on appropriations or people on education that don't represent Bridgeport, the Jen Leapers of the world who have influence otherwise.
That's why we want to instill in them a sense of commitment, stay the course. That's the purpose. That's the purpose of having those meetings. I do want to mention one other thing that Kim didn't mention, but she schooled me on this, so I thought she was going to say it. The key group after that committee report comes out is the Education Subcommittee of Appropriations. It's not who's on appropriations. It's the group that's appropriations has subgroups. And we don't have anybody from Bridgeport on the Education Subcommittee. That's the scary thing. There's nobody from Bridgeport on the Education Subgroup. I looked it up. You can go to the appropriations. They set these subgroups last year during the biennial session, long session. And there's nobody from Bridgeport on that, but look it up, see who's on there. I didn't write it down. I wrote down just approps and education. I didn't look up the education subgroup of approps. There's nobody from Bridgeport on that group. And those are the people who, if they don't get a lot of calls, when they sit down to decide what they're going to do on particular issues, education issues, what they're going to recommend go forward when you get into this month, they say, I haven't got any calls about this issue. Let it go. So we're going to have to generate a lot of calls, and working with CEA, who's very much helping us on this, the union, the state union the PEA belongs to, and AFT, the other one. We're both part of Connecticut for All and working hard on this issue for us. We should be able to generate calls to those elected officials. That's our saving grace. Regional areas of the city or would be a better turnout. Other opinions? Anybody else? Jameen wins. I happen to agree with you, so I'm not. I'm not going to put the spot on you. Yes, we do. Antonio Felipe.
Well, that's a very important caucus. That's why we need, and we do need a meeting.
Yes, we do.
Because that's a, they have a lot of clout up there. Got every brown and black legislator, and they're a big, big caucus. So, don't you think so?
Yeah.
Don't you think we need an individual meeting with him?
We can get a meeting with.
Yes, we can have him get, but we have to go through him. So we need a meeting with him ASAP.
I think that we want to check and see how we handle that with Katie, because we have people from other towns too, who would have members in the caucus that are going to meet with the caucus. I'm not saying you don't go through him. I'm just saying if we're going to have that meeting with the caucus, we want to have members of our group from other cities, and somebody from New Haven, somebody from Hartford, somebody from Waterbury, somebody from New Britain, somebody from Meriden, you know, those towns. Okay. All right. So this has been a good discussion. I need to sort of pull it together so that the list of things to do is clear. The steps, as this gentleman said, just stepped out, is clear, and things that people can do on the website. The website itself, the data sheet, the ECS, that we have that information more readily available to you. And we'll set the dates so that Jess gets them well in advance. And time, like the last discussion is time. Maritza and I had this discussion earlier. I realized, I apologize for tonight, but tonight got sort of snowed one day after another. And the only reason we did tonight is because of this hearing on Friday. And I wanted people to be aware of it. For anyone that wants to submit testimony for Friday, we do have a testimony guide that you can use. And Tim has worked on one that he can make available to you. But it's a finance committee meeting. There are two issues involved in it. The board has not taken a position on new taxes, so I'm not advocating it personally. I support taxing the rich. That's my personal opinion, not the board's opinion. I believe the wealthy in this state, as throughout the country, have gotten wealthier and the poor have gotten poorer, and that Connecticut is indeed ripe for increasing taxes on the wealthy. But the board itself has not taken that position. It is a position of Connecticut for all. So the one of the packages that I passed out to some people includes that. But the one bill the board is clear on is that the guardrails need to be removed. The guardrails were set up ostensibly to prevent Connecticut from being frivolous with its money. Guardrails, just like those things on the highway, meant to limit Connecticut being excessive in spending its money.
That's your list, the elementary and secondary education subcommittee list right there at the top.
Okay. But I don't want to look at that right now. So we'll share that with you. Can we take that down? Or just hold that? We'll put it back up in a section. So the bill on Friday is about removing the guardrails. That would allow the legislature to spend the money it wants to spend out of the surplus. The guardrails say right now, you can't take the money out of the surplus. They have over 4 billion, up to $5 billion in the surplus. You can't spend that money. We used to call it the rainy day fund. Those of us that say it's raining in Bridgeport, they don't listen. It is money that should be spent. It's a short-term relief. Then the question the guardrails say is you can't initiate new taxes without, so that if you believe that we can tax the wealthier people in our state, you can't do that without a supermajority, 60% of the vote. That's another guardrail. To tax you and me, it only takes a simple majority, 50% of the vote. So the guardrails simply say, get the guardrails out of the way, and then let's look at what we want to do. So that's the issue on Friday. There's a bill that says, take away the guardrails, let the legislature decide what it wants to do. And that's the hearing on Friday, is the Finance Committee deciding there are bills about taxing the wealthy. We're only talking about the guardrails. And so if anybody wants to individually submit testimony or testify directly, there is help available. There is sample testimony Tim has put on the website, and that occurs Friday. In order to testify, you have to submit by tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. So that is on Friday. That's why we had the meeting tonight, was because that critical hearing, because those are the two big committees on April 1st and 2nd, finance, which dictates what new revenue the state will get, and appropriations, which we testified before when our students went up about what new spending they're going to do. We're asking them to spend a lot more money on schools. We believe that the long-term solution to that spending is new source of revenue. They can't spend away the savings. They need to at some point. It would take $1 to $2 billion to take care of all the problems in the cities, in the poor communities, not just the schools, all of the problems. So if they spent a couple of billion out of the savings account, and that would leave them about $3 billion in the savings account. So they would still have plenty of money in savings, and if they initiated new taxes, then that would be the long-term solution. Massachusetts, by vote, they have the right in Massachusetts to vote. We don't have the right to vote on these issues in Connecticut. They passed a wealth tax a couple of years ago. They're making about $2 billion in new revenue every year off of those taxes. That would be the long-term solution if we did that. So anyway, Friday's hearing is about those issues. And we're simply asking people to testify about the guardrails that have been talked about a lot in the last couple of years. Bend the guardrails, remove the guardrails. We can't do it because of the guardrails. In the last year alone, the governor bent the guardrails. They bent the guardrails to pass the SPED money, the special ed money last year. They bent the guardrails to pass the $500 million last fall to make up for money that might have been lost because of the federal government cuts. As you heard earlier, they've only spent 200 million out. There's still 300 million floating around, and they bent the guardrails for one other issue I can't remember right now that Speaker Ritter wanted. So the rules can be broken. It's the political will, and that hearing is Friday. We set these meetings at 5:30 originally because that's when I held committee meetings, and we held them because we were trying to be nice to the staff that had to stay after work. As Maritza Estremera Jimenez said to me earlier, 5:30 is too early for parents. And as an old organizer before I became a teacher, I know that sometimes having meetings at 6:30, 7 o'clock are better because parents can get their kids, feed them, and then go to a meeting. It does mean that sometimes parents don't go back out again. So I'm open to doing them. It doesn't matter to me in the least. I can do them at 5:30 for the convenience of the administrators. I can do them at 6 o'clock or 6:30. It's whatever's most convenient for you all. So I'm open to whatever people think. I know what some of the traveling staff would think, but yeah.
You know, I think it's more important to meet. It's always best to meet in person, but if there's the ability for us to meet in some kind of a hybrid format where people can participate virtually as well, that might help.
We're working on that too. It absolutely can be done with regard to staff and students that have team accounts. And that'll be done for the next meeting. It wasn't posted to be a hybrid meeting tonight, so we couldn't accommodate because of the bad weather, the team accounts. But for community people, we have to figure out how to do that. So we're working on that. But time, whatever's best for you all is what I'm asking. What do you all think? And this gentleman read my mind because the next meeting should be in about 2 weeks. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I don't care. It's up there. That's what I said. They know I'm gonna have my food. So they come to me.
I know that.
They don't like to. I don't know if 5:30 is so bad. If they could, they whatever it is. I mean, say they would like to.
Anybody else? Yep.
So, Jess Resto and I had this conversation. She just left, so I want to make sure like her opinion was heard too. We were talking about 6 o'clock, because that'll kind of, like, for example, today, I've rushed here at right after work, had no dinner. Thank God we had pizza so that I can shove one down my face right before we started getting before we got the meeting started. So we were chit-chatting. 6 o'clock is probably a good time to, get the kids settled, and then parents can come in.
What about you, sir? What do you think? Yep.
Well, I don't like to get involved in this part of the discussion because I have an extremely busy schedule and lots of different boards and commissions I sit on. So I got meetings jumping all over the place. Like, for example, tonight, I was planning to leave a little bit before 6:30 because I had to get to my Rotary meeting in West Haven. But then the Rotary meeting got canceled, so I thought I'd stay here later. So I don't want to tell you 5:30 looked better for me, 6:30 looks better. Because then the next two meetings, I guarantee you, you're just gonna go when I have.
You'll walk out.
But I do have a request.
Yes, sir.
I know you're gonna be shocked by this because I'm pretty good at reading this, but I'm dead. And I want to request that you put the captions up there. If you're doing a TV meeting, so what are you doing? Your team?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Team.
Okay. Put the captions on there so I can read them because it's very exhausting, going around the room and trying to twist my head over here to see what people are saying. I lost my hearing when I was 2. I grew up with sign language and everything, but I'm pretty good at lip reading, but now make it easier.
Deaf too, and I had the same problem, so.
Okay. Then I appreciate everybody coming. Anybody have any final thoughts, comments? I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll take a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Oh,
Aye.
no, hold on one second, Joe. I'm looking at 2 weeks. And I have everybody's phone numbers and address, emails, so I will send it out, but I think that means, excuse me, probably 2 weeks from, it wouldn't be the 11th because Wednesdays are generally bad. It'll be the 10th, 11th, or 12th. It'll be one of those 3 days. Anybody have a preference? 11th is a half session. Okay, then it's definitely not going to be the 11th. So the 10th or the 12th. And that means that Tito teaches one of those days. He teaches the 10th, and somebody else, Nicole, teaches the 10th and the 12th. But 6 o'clock makes it better for them. So, because I think they both teach 5:30 to 6:30. Tuesday or Thursday, anybody have a preference? Going once, going twice? Huh? Yes. Then the 12th it is. Thursday, the 12th. We have agreement. Thursday, the 12th at 6 o'clock. Thank you all for coming. Motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned at 7:20, Sam.